Today we're going to be talking about the 3 most common reasons I've seen green card applications get denied. This video topic was actually suggested by one of the people who commented on one of my prior videos where she literally asked, create a video about the common reasons green cards get denied. So this one's for you. One of the most common reasons that green cards get denied is due to an insufficient medical examination. I know a lot of people have problems with the COVID vaccine, and actually having your vaccination or a booster within the last year is oftentimes required for the medical examination. And if you're unwilling to get that booster or the initial vaccination, you might not be eligible for permanent residence. A lot of people know that they can apply for a waiver and basically argue that they qualify for a religious exemption from getting the medical examination done. The basic argument is, my religion prevents me from getting vaccinations, here's evidence of that, and therefore I shouldn't be required to get the COVID vaccine. The problem with this argument is that many people who try to argue it don't actually have a problem with vaccinations. They just have a problem with the COVID vaccine. And USCIS will never accept that argument if you've continued to receive your other vaccinations, or if you have a history of not having problems with vaccinations, you've vaccinated your child, you've received other crucial vaccinations, and you just have a problem with the COVID vaccine. I can't tell you how many people have ended up wasting their filing fee, getting their green card application denied, having to refile it, repay all the fees because they refused to get vaccinated the first time around, and they thought that they could convince the immigration officer that they qualify for an exemption. USCIS strongly disfavors vaccination exemptions, and it's really going to require a lot of proof to have your exemption approved. Let me quickly follow up by saying, if your exemption is not approved, your green card application will get denied. And if your green card application gets denied during Trump's presidency, there's a very good chance that your case will then get referred to immigration enforcement, and they will issue a notice to appear for you to appear in immigration court. And now you'll have to go to immigration court and hire a defense attorney. And you might still be eligible to apply for permanent residence and fix and remedy the situation, but it's gonna cost you way more. And at the end of the day, you're probably gonna still have to get the vaccination done. The second reason I see green card applications getting denied is for insufficient or incomplete affidavits of support. There's a couple ways this plays out, but the affidavit of support, and I've done several videos on how to fill it out and what the common issues are, so if you're new to my channel, check those out. The affidavit of support has several ways that your case can get denied. First off, filling out the form is a little bit tricky. The form doesn't really make sense. The instructions don't really tell you what you need to do. They kind of do, but they're incomplete. For example, there's a part of the form that asks you for 3 years of tax return information. What the form doesn't explain to you is that you actually only have to fill out the most recent tax year. There's also a part thereafter that asks for all of your assets. But if your most recent tax year of income was sufficient, you don't even need to fill that part out. So people get really stressed out and confused when they're filling out the form. But another problem is that people fail to include their complete and entire tax returns. So that includes your Form 1040, the actual tax return filing, with all of the federal schedules and all W-2s and 1099s that were submitted with your application. If you fail to include any of those things, there's a good chance you'll receive a request for evidence asking for more stuff. The problem with the request for evidence is that it's super vague, and sometimes it doesn't tell you exactly what the problem was. It just tells you you need to submit a complete and accurate affidavit of support, and you have no idea what's going on. So you resubmit what you think they need, you mess it up for one reason or another, and then you get a denial. And like I said before, if your case ends up getting denied during Trump's presidency, there's a good chance it's going to become a very expensive problem down the road when your case possibly gets sent to immigration court for deportation proceedings. The third reason that many green card applications get denied applies specifically to marriage-based green cards. So here in my office, I actually focus on marriage-based immigration. So if you want to consult with me or you need an attorney to handle your case, please feel free to reach out. One of the biggest problems I see with marriage-based green cards is when the spouses are oftentimes young, or actually the age doesn't matter, but let's say one of them's in college and they're not actually living together yet. They're in a good faith marriage, they have years of evidence together, they've known each other, they meet all the requirements, but they're not actually living together. But they think that they need to act like they're living together, and so they go into the interview acting like they're living together. And they can't answer basic questions about their day-to-day lives together. They can't answer a question like, what was your spouse doing last Tuesday? What was his or her work schedule like? What day of the week do you take the garbage out to the curb? Who cooked breakfast this morning? If you're not actually living together, you might not be able to answer some of those questions. And then a very good case suddenly becomes very suspicious. And when the case is suspicious and the officer is not sure if you've met your burden to demonstrate that it's in a good faith marriage, they'll schedule a second interview. That second interview can be a year down the road. And during this interview, things become very hostile. It's called a Stokes Interview. They separate the spouses, they interview each one for anywhere from 1 to 3 hours. They'll ask you the same 100 plus questions looking for any material differences in the responses from the two different spouses. Once you're scheduled for a Stokes interview, the probability of your case getting denied, even if you're in a completely legitimate good faith marriage, go up dramatically because they're looking and nitpicking for tiny differences in your responses. And there's a decent chance once you get to this stage that if you're not fully prepared and if you've misrepresented anything along the way, that your case can actually end up getting denied. And as I've said, if that happens during a Trump presidency, your case might then get referred to immigration court to begin deportation proceedings. Alright guys, so those are 3 common ways that green card applications can end up getting denied. I see these things happen all the time, so if you need assistance preparing your case, please feel free to reach out. You could always schedule a consultation directly with me. Find my information in the video description below. If you're new to my channel, I try to create videos on a regular basis on family-based immigration, citizenship, and sometimes I touch on deportation defense. If you're interested in these topics, be sure to subscribe and I'll see you tomorrow for another video.